Right off the top, Capitol Hill, where a Senate-passed funding bill faces the fate of elected representatives now catching the ball in the House. So passage means TSA agents could get paid. It would be a win for both parties as lawmakers get ready to go on break. So let's break this apart step by step. First of all, senators reached a deal just after 2 a.m. Eastern to partially fund DHS. That gets TSA workers paid if the House passes the bill and then the president signs it. The problem is, House Democrats appear to hold firm on changes to ICE and Border Patrol. Here's the state of play just before the Senate sent that legislation over to the House.
This could have been accomplished weeks ago if Republicans hadn't stood in the way. Democrats held firm in our opposition that Donald Trump's rogue and deadly militia should not get more funding without serious reforms, and we will continue to fight for those reforms.
Democrats got their issue, I guess. And in the process, they are irreparably damaging the appropriations process and this institution. I hope they're satisfied.
Let's go live to Capitol Hill and CBS News congressional reporter Taurean Small watching all of this. Okay, so Taurean, people stuck in those TSA lines at airports want to know if that bill passes before congressional recess. What's the read from Democrats in the House right now?
Yeah, I think I might have bad news for them, Reed. It appears that sentiment among House Republicans is unsavory for that bill that came out of the Senate. We're awaiting to hear from Speaker Mike Johnson, who's set to speak before the press about where his caucus or his conference stands. But we heard from quite a few Republican lawmakers who hated the fact that the Senate voted overnight and then essentially got out of town, leaving or putting the onus on them to get this done, considering the fact that Republicans in the House 3 times over passed a bill that would have fully funded the Department of Homeland Security. After that passage of the Senate version came to the House, this is what House Speaker Mike Johnson told our Nicole Killian this morning.
What are your thoughts on the Senate bill that passed last night? And are you going to take it up on the House floor?
We're going to get all the members together and decide that strategy this morning. But I'll tell you, it's infuriating that Democrats are willing to inflict pain on the American people simply so they can defund the agency that is responsible, literally, for removing criminal illegal aliens. That's what this is about. They just put it on display for the country again, what they're for. And I think it is contestable.
Members of the House Freedom Caucus dug in earlier this afternoon, telling reporters that they believe that they could leverage Donald Trump or President Trump committing to pay TSA officers through a different fund in order to actually get some substantive conversations going on fully funding DHS, essentially bringing Senate back to the negotiating table. Take a listen to what members of the House Freedom Caucus told us earlier.
I guess the Democrats want a wide open border. So what we're suggesting is that the only thing we're going to support is adding that funding into the bill, adding voter ID, sending it back to the Senate, make them come back in to do their work. The bottom line is this deal is bad for America. It's bad for Americans.
So that was Republican leadership. That was members of the far-right House Freedom Caucus. And then there are also Democrats in the House who are unsatisfied with this. Listen, we heard from Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who says he's still pushing for reforms. That's the biggest piece missing from this, considering the bill that came over from the Senate did not include funding for ICE or CBP.
So let me just get this straight. The Senate passes this, they send it over to the House. But if the House did any amendments to send it back to the Senate, you're saying senators aren't even there to take care of this?
Correct. I mean, they left essentially right after voting to send this over to the House. But another wrinkle in this, and I think the frustration is obviously being over-communicated here, but there's another issue that the House is looking at. According to House rules, they can't just expedite this to the president's desk. Even if they were supportive of this, there's a long drawn-out process because of the day of the week, for example, that this bill fell on their desk. So they would have to go through a process of putting it through a rules committee for its recommendation for a full floor vote, or else they would have to suspend the rules in order to get this done quicker, which is something a lot of Republicans seem hesitant on getting done. Again, I want to emphasize the fact that a few lawmakers I talked to, Republican lawmakers I talked to, say that they're looking to leverage the fact that President Trump will essentially have paid for these paychecks for TSA officers to continue these conversations and negotiations. And even though the House voted 3 times now to send over a full DHS funding bill, that didn't really have that many supporters from Democrats signing on to those bills. So it's likely this shutdown stalemate will continue even longer than they originally thought it would, Reed.
All right, Taurean Small following all of it today. Likely by the time our dinner time headlines come out, we will hear what Mike Johnson did as he gathered a lot of people as he said he would. Much more to come. Thank you.